that now. All right. And so let's get going. Today's agenda, very quickly, we're going to review the work group objectives and overview of food security, hear from our lovely panelists, and then we'll have a great breakout discussion and then come back as a whole group to share out. So just a quick review, the Kentucky Student Success Collaborative, as you all know by now, I'm sure that we are working to build a capacity of higher education partners to accelerate progress to student success. Our vision is that we bring people together to support one another, share new ideas, scale what's working, and inspire a culture of continuous improvement. And we're really excited about these work groups and being able to forward some of our work with housing and food security on our campuses. So focusing on objective 1 today, we're looking at food security. And we know that college students often face food security, insecurity issues, and it's due to a lot of different reasons: transitional life stages, limited work experience, lack of family support. And while we've had a lot of conversations about SNAP benefits, and we know that it is a crucial role, we wanted to also share some of the important works that are being done on our campus on how to get involved and how to get this information to our students, such as SNAP, such as some of the work that is being done by the food pantries and beyond with campus and community partners. To support this objective, we're looking at implementing basic needs, benefits, eligibility screening for students, and reviewing state public benefits. We're looking at increasing staff capacity and providing training and professional development. We're hoping that with knowledge and the sharing of programs like meal sharing programs, food rescue programs, and partnerships with organizations like Airmark, God's Pantry, that we'll have some strengthening supports for our students and we'll be able to wrap them in these services. So now we want to take the time to hear from our campus partners who will discuss their initiative programs and what that looks like beyond the pantry. They'll share some insights on how these efforts were started, where they are now, and how they're making a difference in supporting their students on their campuses. I'm going to come out from sharing my screen for a moment, you all, so that we can see our campus partners. And I want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to join in and speak. I have it listed out as you'll seen on the slide. I have Eastern Kentucky University and Amanda Green representing, Abigail Hickey representing, Julian Cupp representing. I have the University of Kentucky, Marianne Young, and I believe maybe Andrew Perkins might be able to show up and speak as well. So thank you all for being willing participants and showing up to speak and share with us today. I'm going to pull up our questions. You all, I'm working with one screen today, so my apologies. While I'm pulling this up, would you all mind? I've just shared your first names. Will all share again the institution and what your role is on your campus?
I'll go first since my name was said first. So I'm Amanda Green from Eastern Kentucky University. I'm an associate professor of anthropology, and I'm here with 3 additional people from EKU who are fabulous. So I'll turn it over to Abby, who then can turn it over to others.
Hi, yes. Thanks, Amanda. I'm Abby. I am an assistant professor in food and nutrition at Eastern Kentucky University, and I'm just so fortunate to have landed an awesome campus that is so supportive and so passionate about addressing these concerns. I also want to point out Laura Vance is here. So Laura, if you want to go, because I don't believe you were named, but I know that you're also on this panel.
Hi, I'm Laura Vance. I'm the Dean of Students at EKU. And really, my only claim to fame in all of this is asking Abby and Amanda for help, and then they just ran with things. And I always say the number one best thing that I've done is realize, oh, faculty are extraordinary. Like we didn't know that. And so I'm just very grateful to get to work with amazing colleagues like them and like Jillian, who is next.
Hi, I'm Jillian Cupp. I'm the registered dietitian with EKU Dining Airmark on EKU's campus. Yeah, and I'll turn it over to Marianne, I think what's next with UK.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marianne Young. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Financial Wellness. I do not know if one of my partners in crime, Andrew Smith, is going to be able to hop on here, but if he does later, he is representing our partnership that we have with Aramark and some of our programming. So in full disclosure, I am new to this position, and so I see some other folks on this call who probably have a lot more expertise in this area. So I invite them as I'm speaking to fill in holes or get things right where I am still learning. So.
Thank you. Thank you all again. And Laura, I apologize for leaving your name out. I look at Laura like she is a consistent part of the Basic Needs Network. I'm like, Laura's one of us. So let me get started. Our first question is, what are the key food security challenges you have identified within your university community, and how have you been working to address them?
I can, Amanda, do you want to answer?
No,
I can answer the second part, but you go for the first part.
well, this is, so what we know at EKU, Abby, do you want to say our numbers that we found from our
Yes.
prevalence survey?
We have some new, it feels very strange to call it exciting because it's terrifying, but we did have some new data. And that was kind of where I was going to go with this is I would, encourage any campus that can to collect some data. And from my previous research, we know that having administration backing, so just huge shout outs to Laura Vance. I mean, we're just each other's cheerleaders and everything, it feels like. And Laura has just been so pivotal in kind of backing what we know and what our experiences are and talking to these students. And I mean, there have been so many meetings where Laura, we have a problem and Laura just like do like done. And so, but where I was going with this, I have baby brain. I had a baby like a month ago, so if I am rambling, I'm sorry. We did a prevalence survey. Amanda and I got a mini grant to do it, and we found that 47% of our students meet criteria for food insecurity. And what's even more scary is that there are two levels of food insecurity. There's low food security and there is very low food security. The only category in which, so if students were not food secure, the next highest category was very food insecure. So our students are not only experiencing food insecurity, they're experiencing strong levels of physiological hunger that have massive implications for their academic success and their health and well-being. And so we haven't collected data on that yet, on the outcomes and impacts, but we can now say 47% of our students are food insecure, which I think will blow some of our campus partners away.
I think one of the challenges that we've been trying to meet is making sure that we're in a location with at least our food pantry access in a location and space where students can get to it easily. It's a regular part, just kind of a normal part of the experience of the students in terms of it being in a building that they pass by or that they're frequenting. And so we were very fortunate to be able to open in a new space recently. That is, within kind of all these other dean of student offices. And so the space is fantastic in terms of being able to offer a wide variety of things. We'd had some space constraints before. So we would be able to expand that out. And then location wise, being so close to the student center makes it easy for students to be able to access it as they need. So been very fortunate to be able to partner to get good space to be able to have a wide variety of offerings for our students.
Our food pantry is also, it's located in our students, what our students would refer to as a student center, or they call it PAL, but it's up on the third floor. So it's a little bit out of the way. And it was initially placed there because we didn't want students to feel a stigma about using the food pantry, but at the same time, we have regular conversations about maybe it should be more front and center so that we're normalizing people going in and out and using that pantry. Um, so lots of ongoing conversations about that. And the other part of the question, how have we addressed these insecurities, is having the food pantry, but there are lots of other initiatives that we've undertaken. And Abby and Amanda put together a food security coalition that was they did a very fancy formal launch with that. And I'll let them talk more about that, but it did draw together some stakeholders on campus that I think helped us build some momentum.
Yeah, I agree. And so we've done like the quantitative data. So what this tells me is that going to college for our students requires them to go hungry, like for half of our students. Like that's the structure of how universities work right now. I do interviews with students, and they are very tired of being backpack kids. They're tired of the stigma of being poor. So even if we provide all of these wonderful resources, I think what we've found through the Food Security Coalition, which we started last spring, is that we need to find other ways to make sure that going hungry isn't like a necessary part of going to college. So that brought in Laura, that brought in Jillian, and Aramark, and so many other groups to really think beyond emergency food provisioning to, like when you introduced it, thinking about screening, and then with all of the work that Jillian has been doing as well for bringing in SNAP and like other accessible resources for our students, not just emergency food. So that would be my spiel about like nearly half of our students are food insecure. So something is greatly wrong with the system.
Thank you all for that information. I'm also attending to our chat, and from the chat, we have a question. What is the criteria you use for food insecurity?
Yes, so we used the USDA's 6-item food security survey module. That it is there is not a food security module that is technically validated for the use of college students. However, there are dozens and dozens of studies that have set a precedent for using the 6-item, and so its validity has been well, it hasn't been formally tested. We accept it to be valid among this population. And so it's very short. It took most of our students 10 minutes or less. And then we also had them answer some demographic questions. So we are working with one of our math professors on campus to analyze that data. And so she's working on that now. So we should have some more advanced results later. But that is what we're using. And you can look that up. It's free. It's very, very simple. It's usually yes or no questions.
Thank you for that. I see that there's another question that also has been answered, but it was asked of what types of foods are in the pantries. Are there any restrictions to using the pantry, such as amount of foods that can be taken? And it was shared that from EKU, they have a refrigerator and a freezer as well as non-perishable items. And they also have personal hygiene items and clothing. They take financial donations and shop every couple of weeks. Marianne, I know the UK pantry has something similar. Did you want to share out?
Sure, we have those shelf stable items, as well as the freezer and the refrigerated items. We restock every Friday, so making sure we have things like milk, butter, all of those types of things, personal hygiene products. We do try to make sure that we have a variety of food options available to meet different dietary needs. So whether that's making sure we have options of plant-based proteins and things of that nature, just to make sure that when somebody comes in, they're able to find something that is able to meet their dietary needs. In terms of kind of our usage of the pantry. Students can fill one. We have like a regular kind of size shopping type bag. They can fill one of those and visit the pantry up to 3 times a month. If a student needs to come more than that, then we're going to sit down with them and just make sure that we're getting them connected to all of the resources that a student may need, just to kind of check back in with them and to see if there's additional ways that we can be supporting them. I think some of the items we've been very fortunate in terms of funding through philanthropy dollars, as well as with our parking and transportation services office. We do donations for citations. At the end of move out, we also have where students can donate unused and non-perishable food items. So we just actually went through and sorted through a bunch of donations that we received from students who were living on campus and had items that they were not going to be taking with them that could be donated to the pantry. We've also been fortunate to receive donations from Starbucks and some of their refrigerator freezer items that they sell. We're able to include those within the pantry. And then one of the biggest items that we have found very helpful, can openers. So we do have a need for can openers just to make sure that with those shelf stable items. So we do have some different organizations that will do like can opener drives, or we have your Amazon wish list that folks can purchase things from and send directly to the pantry as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We'll go back to some questions as you all are putting them in the chat. I'm going to go to our next questions for the panelists. Can you share some successful strategies or programs your institutions have developed to improve food access for your students?
I can hop in and share two of the different things that we have, two additional kind of programs, kind of creative strategies that we've been able to offer our students. And this is in partnership with our dining services partner, Aramark. We have on campus a one cafe. For $1, a student can get an entree and 2 sides every day of the week, Monday through Friday. They can also pick up a meal if they want to go ahead and pre-purchase for dinner or something like that. So they can get, 2 of those meals, lunch in for dinner. And students are really excited about it. You just have to be a registered student. There's no other criteria, so any student has that available to them. And then the second thing is our Swipe Ahead program, where we know that sometimes, visiting the food pantry is a great option for students who might need something if they have a place where they can prepare meals, but not every student has that place where they can prepare meals. And so the Swipe Ahead program allows a student to apply for and receive up to 10 meal swipes in one of our all-you-can-eat dining locations. And then that, allows them to be able to have those 10 meal swipes. And then we follow up with some additional support just to make sure that students are aware of and have access to any other support that they may need.
I'll jump in and talk about how Amanda and I started our coalition. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring together people on our campus that were already doing the work. And so we had noticed that there were people, we had our food pantry or Colonel's Cupboard. We had Laura doing emergency aid. We had Amanda doing the research. We had Jillian, who was working as a dietitian for our students. And so we really just wanted to bring everyone together. And so we applied for a grant to have a forum. And the 2 questions we wanted to answer is, what resources do we have and what do we need? And so from that, I think we're able to just kind of build a vision and build a place to start our work. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to increase access to SNAP. And this is where I would love to segue to Jillian, because I just think your work is fantastic and I think you're a rock star. So I'd love to hear about your work.
Thank you. So what really, we have just been approved for SNAP EBT on EKU's campus this past April or so. What really jump-started that conversation was the Food Security Coalition. I was able to sit in on that as a representative of Aramark, and we were able to just toss around ideas, hear from other faculty and staff on campus, to hear from students on campus, and kind of see what everyone's looking for and what would be beneficial. So we landed on the idea of possibly getting SNAP on campus, making it a little bit easier for students who you know, don't have a car, can't really make it off campus to get groceries or anything, or have a limited needs to get fully priced groceries and like unsure if they are eligible for SNAP, and something we can help them get access to. So then I was able to meet with another representative in Airmark, kind of seeing what the process of getting SNAP on campus would look like. And I was able, like, we're the first state in Kentucky to get approved and accepted for SNAP. So that's exciting. We have yet to fully use it because we had closed down right when we got accepted. So hopefully in this peak, like the first of the fall season or semester, we'll be able to get that going, and right now, and see how it goes, see what advertising we can do for it. We have it in only one convenience store on our campus right now, and then hopefully we can move forward and getting it in all of them, and then making it a lot more easier for students to be able to get these food items.
And another thing that we do is we bring in God's Pantry to screenings. And so usually once a year, Laura will work with our wonderful, wonderful partners at God's Pantry. And they come in and we just set them up in a room, and she puts out appointments. And it's always full, I believe, Laura, correct? Like students always fill up all the appointment slots. And so we open up the space for students to apply for SNAP, and then hopefully they'll get to use them on campus.
That's been the biggest challenge for a lot of our students, is if they have some of the larger meal plans or just even the regular meal plan, then they're not eligible for SNAP benefits. And but during the summer, we don't have meal plans. So they were trying to get SNAP benefits for the summer. And so one of our big challenges has been food during breaks. Colonel's Cupboard is open, of course, and students can use that. But a food pantry doesn't necessarily give students the variety of foods that they want, or maybe not necessarily the foods that they like, or they'll get kind of tired of the same old. And so helping them to get SNAP benefits during the summer has been important, and we're working through that with God's Pantry as well as Kentucky River Foothills. I found out that there's the connector at Kentucky River Foothills has to do like tabling so many times a month. So now her plan is once a month she's going to be at EKU, and so that's she's already doing that this summer. Has done a couple of tabling events here to get students signed up, but next month she's going to be at one of our family dinners. So this summer I've asked all of the colleges and some of the other units to host a family dinner in our summer residence hall, where the large number of our students that are food or housing insecure stay, because we kind of centralize our students during the summer in one hall. And so each of the colleges sponsor, they get the meal catered in, because we don't do potlucks. Food poisoning liability, council's office gets a little cranky. So to keep council happy, these are catered in meals, and it's been a huge hit. Student attendance at it has been increasing, and it's a low cost kind of thing that the different colleges have enjoyed doing. So the first college that did it was our College of Letters, Arts, and Social Sciences, and the dean was there and sat and chatted with them. Enrollment management has done it. Development is doing it this afternoon. We've had a wide variety of different restaurants, and they always order enough so students will take to-go boxes with them. And so now the students know they bring their own to-go boxes, because they know they're going to leave with some meals for the week too. And the meals have all been really great. Taco Bell was a big hit. I didn't expect that, but they were very pumped about Taco Bell. But I don't know if you're seeing this on your campuses too. Our students, I'm seeing fewer students that drive. that not only don't have vehicles, but they don't drive at all, and that can be a big challenge to get to affordable food. Yeah, there are, you know, little local convenience stores and things like that. It's walking distance, but to get to Walmart or Kroger or something, it's a little bit more of a challenge. So bringing some things in like this has been a big hit, and the colleges are really enjoying it. And you can see, just as we've been talking today, we have, you know, there's faculty from the College of Education Applied Human Sciences. That's Abby, and Amanda is from the College of Letters, Arts, and Social Sciences, and our math faculty is from the College of STEM. Getting all of these different faculty working together has really increased the conversation, and our faculty are more and more familiar now with these kinds of needs, and all I have to do is put out a little feeler and people are just jumping on board. But I think that that forum very early on is what helped it catch on, and that knowledge for faculty that, oh, our students are hungry, and it's more than just, well, you know, here's a granola bar or something like that, that these are long-term needs and we need sustainable approaches to help our students.
That is so exciting. Thank you all for that information. Of course, we have some more questions, and I'm going to hop in and support and back up one of my colleagues still in higher ed, but former colleague at UK, Marianne. I have the fun and unique situation where I, with KYSSC now, but I was formerly the UK Basic Needs Program Coordinator. So I can answer the question about the swipe ahead, as I supervised the GA who did that. And so there were a couple of things that were set in place, and most of these were between the basic needs program, financial aid, as well as Airmark. And so with basic needs, the students just needed to be enrolled as a current student to receive meal swipes. They had to have an active student ID. Their number needed to be active. Now, every time a meal swipe was awarded to a student's account, this counted as dollars. So it became really fun figuring that out when we first began. A student group started this process, and it grew to be a lot more than they'd ever imagined. And one of the things that we came in and started assessing when it started costing a little bit more, for a meal swipe, we're looking at about an average of what, about $12, $11, $12 per meal swipe, is being added to a student's account. So if we're looking at 10 meal swipes, you're looking at about $120 that is being added to a student's financial package from the university. So that entailed conversation and a little training and support from financial aid colleagues on, you know, we want to make sure that we're providing the student support and meal swipes. So we want to make sure that we're not sending them too many meal swipes. So that's where the 10 came from. $100, $150 was kind of the safe space that would not trigger any concerns for financial aid, any audits, trigger anything to be held up on their financial aid for the next semester. So that is why the 10 meal swipes was that number provided. But we'd go and we'd, you know, review their financial aid and make sure that they had enough aid available, or what we would call unmet need available, to add on 10 meal swipes. Airmark partners also would give us some hard copy vouchers, you know, when they were available, in the event, which was not often, in the event that a student just did not have that aid. But that was the criteria: enrolled students, and we had to be able to assess their student account and be sure that we were not going to trigger any financial issues with adding those swipes to their account.
Marianne, thank you for your expertise. I'm still learning everything. I appreciate you.
No problem. There's also another question here. Can EKU share more details on the steps to get SNAP approved on their campus?
Okay, so I'll run through this really quickly, but people can email me afterwards because it's a few different steps and it can be hard to remember all of them. So first and foremost, you have to have a business license. So that's going to be depending on if it's going to be through your city or your county. It just depends what area you're at and in. I was able to kind of just Google it really quickly and kind of figure out what it needed to be for here in Richmond. And I was able to get set up with a financial advisor in Airmark as well to help like get the FEIN number that was needed to get that business license and get approved for it. And then for the actual SNAP, you have to fill out the SNAP application. And so the SNAP application requires you to have 4 different staple food items. So there was, I have it written down, there was fruits and vegetables. That's one staple item. There were dairy products as well, another staple item. And then meat, chicken, fish, protein, another staple item, and then grains. And so with those staple items, it's required to have 3 different products of each staple item. So if you're going to do meat, you need to have deli meat or like deli turkey. You need to have chicken strips, frozen chicken strips. It can have deli roast beef, beef jerky, canned tuna. So you have to have 3 different items of that. So you would have canned tuna, deli turkey, and then beef jerky. So that's 3 different items, and they're all a little bit different. So it's not like beef jerky, roast beef, like the same item, giving them a variety. And so you have those 3 different items, and then you have to have at all times 3 stocking units of each item as well too. So you have to have at least 3 cans of tuna out. You have to have at least 3 cans or packages of beef jerky out. You have to have 3 packages of deli turkey out. And so on and so forth with each staple food item. I have a lot of resources too, if anybody does want to email me, and I can send them your way, because I saved a lot of this information when I was doing it as well. And so, so you have your staple food items, you fill out the application, you'll need to have like a set bank account to get your reimbursement in. You'll have to have a card reader that accepts SNAP EBT. You have to have a percentage of how many staple food items you have and what else is in your store as well. It's just a general estimate though. And then once you fill out and submit the application, a USDA representative will come by and will assess the store and make sure that you meet all the necessary basic needs to get approved for SNAP EBT. And then once they come by, they can approve it. It takes maybe a week or so, I think it might have taken to hear back from the approval. And then you get an authorization package that gives you your code from the USDA saying that you can do this, and you have to train all the employees as well too on just how to accept SNAP, what the rules and do's and do nots to do. So, and I'll put my email down in the chat too. And then, so anybody who has any questions, I can send you an email, give you all the resources that you need. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I know, Jillian, your email is gonna blow up. It may look like there's not a lot of folks on here, but I've had a number of requests for me to get this video posted to the exchange ASAP. So, thank you so much for that information. It is very important for us to be able to review these pieces and how to get there, right? So this is great. I see a note in there. All of these programs are phenomenal. One Cafe, Swipe Ahead, and getting SNAP approved on campus. Great work, teams. I'm truly excited about the work that Kentucky is doing. This is great. This is amazing. We are leading the way in helping to make sure our campuses are food secure. So our next question that I have is, how do you engage and collaborate with local community organizations or government agencies to enhance food security efforts? I know some of this was kind of mentioned throughout, but if we could do a quick review of what that looks like, there's certain times a year, and how they do are involved with continuous support for you all.
Like I said, I've been working with Kentucky River Foothills and God's Pantry to get SNAP screening on campuses. And I know Jillian, EKU Dining does some work with God's Pantry too.
We work with Grace Now, the food pantry at downtown Richmond. We send some of our leftovers in Case Dining Hall to them.
In addition, we work with some different faith-based organizations in the community who also have food banks and things of that nature, and so we're working together to feel how we can support each other in that. We've been very fortunate with different restaurants, for example, an ice cream shop here in Lexington, Crank and Boom, that donated ice cream, a really fun thing to have available. And so, I think the piece of it is that you don't know until you ask. And we are not afraid to ask partners to say, hey, we've got this really great thing. And folks are really always excited to partner in and help or to make donations. And so we've been very fortunate to have really strong community partnerships.
We've
That is
also,
awesome.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just said that's awesome. Please go ahead, Abby.
We've also worked with DCBS. Amanda and I wrote for a grant, which unfortunately was not funded, but we're going to continue with our project. We worked with DCBS to get to try to get connectors on our campus. And so where we are a little bit different from other initiatives that are happening is that we want to train EKU employees to be connectors. So there is a type of connector that just any volunteer can be. And so our goal there is that students won't have to, go out for a connector. They can just go to someone locally that they know. We can connect them. So we have a centralized financial aid, scholarship, and registrar's office. And so called it Biggie Central. And so really hoping to work with those folks. And as students go there to seek help, or they go to Laura to seek help, we can connect them with someone on campus and be like, this is where you can go. It's not, here's a phone number or here's an email. It's, here is a person that you can go see, and they're in the next hallway down. So hoping to build those type of relationships so that students can get that help almost immediately, because we know that students often seek help when they're in crisis. They don't seek help, a month before the crisis happens. They seek help as the crisis is happening. And Laura could talk about her October and April schedule, and you would probably cry your eyes out.
Oh goodness, that is so true. And we continue to talk about it in even our communications group. It keeps being said we got to communicate all the time consistently because of what it looks like and the timing that it looks like when a student is actually going to reach out for help. So we just want to make sure that when they do, they know what's there. And then just to follow up on the connectors, I love the conversation. As most of you all know, we've got connectors on the KCTCS campuses, and have been working to continue to build that out and their partnership and effectiveness there. While at UK, we worked with the Community Action Council and God's Pantry. They had two connectors who would come out when I would host basic needs fairs and informational sessions, as well as one of the connectors from God's Pantry who would volunteer to come out and meet and talk to students, whether it's outside of the pantry, or, you know, we started the talks of, hey, maybe you could even host a tutor room at the library where students could come over and meet with you. And she was very much willing to do that. So definitely understand bringing the resources and information to the students. I love the idea of having staff trained because it is a possible thing to do. Not pushing that on anybody, but I think it's amazing. Okay, let's go and look at the next question. What role do students play in your food security programs, and how do you involve them in developing and implementing these initiatives?
I'll jump on that just because it's easy. We we only have undergraduates for the most part, and they help us as research assistants in our various studies. So they've helped conduct the surveys, conduct the interviews. They presented research. One student just recently worked with Jillian to look at food allergies, food insecurity, and the use of our campus dining center. And so they through that research process, they kind of become liaisons for us, letting other students know what resources are out there and where to turn. So they become really important allies in the whole process. And then actually, we do have graduate students. I believe Dr. K's students are mathematicians. Are they graduate students, Abby? Yeah. So the graduate students are doing some of our statistics. They did the initial statistical analysis. So that has been really helpful on the research and it empowers students. So that part's been really nice.
We have
I'll
graduates.
also,
Go ahead, Abby. No,
sorry,
thought
go on.
you got it.
I'll also brag on Amanda. She brought together a panel of students for our forum. And I think that it was just such a mic drop moment. Amanda, would you care to share a little bit about that?
So that was all the students. The students who we had interviewed over several years, several of them agreed to present publicly on their experiences with food insecurity, and they were very powerful speakers. And I think that was more effective than all the interviews I've done because they were willing to share their stories. But the interviews were the first step to finding people who are willing to share their stories more publicly. And I think hearing we had students in the audience during our Food Security Coalition. We may have used extra credit to get them there. That's possible, and I don't feel bad about it. So they came and they heard these other students sharing their stories, and they saw themselves in the story, or they saw their friends in the story. And so that storytelling piece is really important and powerful. So I think that was really effective for getting students involved.
I love that story. I'm so glad that you shared that. I think our students are wonderful in terms of thinking about what's the next thing, and so we're always keeping that feedback loop to say, hey, what do you see? What ideas do you have? We have a graduate student that helps with the administration of that Swipe Ahead program, as well as work studies students who are working within our pantry space. And then we actually have a lot of students who want to volunteer to support in terms of donations or thinking about getting our fraternities and sororities involved and personal hygiene product drives and things of that nature. So it's a near and dear topic to many of our students on campus, and so we are always wanting to leave that door open for them to share ideas or concerns or thoughts or what's the next thing that we can do to be supporting you. So we're definitely wanting to make sure that we keep that space for the student voice.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. And I want to be sure before we go into um, these, they're going to be super small breakouts. So I imagine they're going to be a lot quicker. You all may definitely appreciate getting back so much of your time today. We anticipated, like I said, almost 30. It's supposed to be 28 people on this work group today. Um, So these breakout groups will be a lot smaller. But before we do that, we do have additional time. If there were any other questions for our panelists from EKU and UK, um, any other things you wanted to revisit from what they've shared before we go into the small groups? Okay, and then I see my chat going, so let me go over here. Someone said, David, thank you. Sky CTC. It's a 100% commuter, no contract food service. They have 6 campuses, 1 centralized food pantry, offer food delivery service to all of our campuses for our students. That is amazing. Started fall 2024, we are partnering with our culinary program to offer specifically designed cooking classes to enable a family of 4 to 5 to create 5 dinners with 1 bag of groceries while spending under $50. David, I might need to come to that with my family of 5 because it is a very tricky thing to try to save money at the grocery store. That is simply awesome. Thank you so much for
It gets
sharing.
better if you attend the workshop and you see how everything's prepared. You will leave with that bag of groceries as well.
Listen to that. This is awesome.
I'm
And
loving
as
That's
I've
awesome.
I'm seeing some folks that are also having to jump off as well. So what I'm gonna do, because we want to make sure that this is going well for everyone, and we're going to make sure that we get the most out of this moment. Um, this group is still it's small enough, I think, for us to stay on to go over what we would have discussed in the small groups. But what we would have is we're going to post the link. Olivia, if you don't mind, could you post the link to the Google Doc in the chat?
Yes, I got that.
Awesome. So when you do that, you do not have to say what institution that you're from. You don't have to identify yourself or anything there. There's just some things that, we're excited and looking at processing what is going on our campuses that's working, and maybe some of the things that just aren't working. And sometimes, it's those sneaky little policies that just never went away. And sometimes they kind of compete with some of our other great works that we're doing, and so we want to look at some of that as well, in addition to the things that we're doing. So there is the Google Doc. Thank you, Olivia. And so the first question that we have is, what successful programs or initiatives are effectively addressing food insecurity on your campus? Our panelists have already shared that out. So this was going to be a review for our small groups. And David, thank you now for sharing what is working on you all's campus, because that's amazing. We can make note of a lot of those things, as you've already have shared that. We can make that note for our own selves here at the collaborative. So the next question is, how do current policies at your institution support and or hinder efforts to address food insecurity? What current policies are you aware of at your institution that support and or hinder efforts to address food insecurity?
So I go round and round about this topic here with our meal plans. And I know the community colleges, this isn't an issue, but I also know it's not of something available that you can lean into as well. But our students are required to have meal plans if they live on campus, for a certain number of credits. But if they have a meal plan, they can't get SNAP benefits. And so I used to be a big proponent of, we need to look at that more carefully, because some of our students, eating on the weekends then becomes more difficult for them. But now with fewer of our students driving, and again, that's anecdotal, but if I'm noticing it, it feels like there's probably numbers to back that up. I have students that rely very heavily on the meal plan. It comes out of their financial aid package. And so they don't have to go to the grocery store, and they struggle more when they don't have the meal plans in place. And I'm curious as to if other institutions have less maybe black and white, like you have a meal plan, you don't have a meal plan, kind of policies that address the nuances of our student experiences, because we have students that rely very heavily on it, but then we have students that if they could get out of it, they would, because they would rather be able to shop for their own groceries and have that kind of flexibility.
That's a good question. How does that look on our other institutions, other campuses?
So it's my understanding that, if you're in one of our first year residence halls, that meal plan is a part of that, but we do have some returning residence halls. It's I think just maybe one kind of apartment style living for upper class students who or returning students, where they are not required to have that meal plan. So there is kind of a caveat of, if you're living in this residence hall, it's designed to be more kind of like an apartment type of situation. You don't have to have the meal plan. Ariane, make sure that I got that right, but I'm pretty sure
So
that's
here, if they're the U flats, yep.
Yeah,
If they're the U flat.
the only one. Yeah.
Olivia's a UK grad. She's like, yeah, U flats.
Yeah, I was there for 3 years in U flats. Can't confirm there's a kitchen in there, so did not have the meal plan or anything.
Oh, we can't hear you, Heather, and I don't want to miss anything you're sharing. Okay. Might just be that computer audio is not connected well. It's okay. I know at home I switch between my headset and my system, and so sometimes it doesn't automatically switch over. You have to go into the audio settings and make sure that it's on the computer and not some speakers or headset. Oh, it's okay. Well, I don't have super fast fingers, but if you want to type your comment, I'll be happy to read it out for you. Okay. Wait. Okay. Well, then we'll see you in just a moment. Just gonna hop off and come back on. And while she does that, let's look at what policy changes could better support the students' basic needs. So we know that some of the things that we're not might be kind of iffy on, and the meal plans have definitely always been one. I say they've come a long way, right? Like I just, it used to be that, you had the meal plan and it was a large sums of money, but I think some of our campuses are really trying, as I've been reviewing some of the sites, they have several different tiers, and so some have, worked with it that way. Here the different tiers, and it may not be as large of a sum of money, just a one flat meal plan like it was when I was in college years ago. And so you might have, something that's more affordable, and then, maybe if it's a commuter plan or a smaller plan. And for even those students who live on campus can have an option to not have the most expensive meal plan. So I know that that's some of the ways that they're trying that out. Heather, you want to try again? Oh, it's okay. It didn't come. Okay. So
Can I
looking back,
chime in? Oh,
yes, thank you,
with
Amanda.
a-
So looking
I
back
just-
at that question.
while she types, I had a question. I was just thinking about meal plan policies and lack of clarity too, with with your program, the Swipe It Forward, was that what it was called? Just thinking, we have been having discussions with our food service provider too about emergency food provisioning and giving students swipes, but that's very informal, which can be very effective to be able to just grant grace to students who need it. But it also creates a complete lack of structure, and students who don't ask for help don't get the help. So that's one sort of policy area that I'm curious about, how UK is funding the Swipe It Forward, and then what other options are there for students who need 10 extra swipes.
Interesting thing, because as I was sitting here, I'm putting my financial wellness hat on, and I'm thinking about, I would love for students to have the option to almost spread out, like, so you have like your meal swipes, but then you also have like your flex dollars or whatever, to be able to say, I only want to have 100 flex dollars available to me in this month. I only want to have $100 available to me in the next month. I'm just thinking from a budgeting perspective, if a student wanted to, not that it would be required, but if a student wanted to say, I want to try to make sure that my flex dollars make it throughout the whole entire semester, is there a way almost like to say, okay, let's bucket it out into what you want to spend each month. And if that would be a way, we have a number of students who will get through those flex dollar amounts pretty quickly and early in the semester. And then they're kind of in a situation as they get towards the end of the semester going, oh, I forgot about, November and December, where I'm also going to need to be counting on those flex dollars. And so if there's a way that we could help them kind of think about budgeting that program, their flex dollars throughout the whole piece of it, that might be something that helps them make it through the whole semester. Again, not something that would be required, but something that would be an option for a student thinking about how do I prepare and budget for an entire semester of things.
And similarly, that the best meal plan is often the most expensive because you get more meals, you feed yourself every day. And so it's a very like bang for your buck, buy more, get more deal, but that doesn't necessarily work for students. So I wonder if that's a policy or programming choice that we could look into as well. That like, do they have to be different prices? I know that this is also a business model, but becomes a bit unethical in that sense too. But it also helps students understand that if they pay more right now, they will be able to eat throughout the semester.
I'll tell you what has not worked well, and I had to make some phone calls and put out some fires this last semester. We did a flex boost where it looked like a really great deal for students, get $300 flex boost and only pay $270. So, I'll save $30 and, get $300, but it adds it to their bill. And students were stacking those up. I just looked at a student's balance, and had they not added flex boost, they probably would have been under the hold threshold. It got ugly, and I made some phone calls, and I was like, listen, this student has added an absurd amount of money in flex boost and had a financial hold. So they hadn't even cleared their financial aid yet. And our meal cards and our flex can be used at some area businesses too. So basically, they're eating at Tropical Smoothie Cafe on EKU's dime. And they're not going to be able to re-enroll because they aren't thinking about it adding to their bill. So they switched some things up real quick to make sure that students couldn't just add that money ad nauseum. So if you start looking at Flex Boost, make sure you put very tight parameters around that, because it got bad real fast. And Heather, I saw your comment. We have an appeals process too if students have like dietary needs or other financial hardships or things. Now, if they have dietary needs, the first thing I do is have them meet with Jillian, so she can talk to them about what areas they can eat at in our dining hall, and they make sure that there are certain areas that are allergen free and those kinds of things. But there are ways to opt out if they need to. But chances are, if they're living in the residence hall, the meal plan is probably a better option for them. I always feel a little yucky. And one of my colleagues actively talks about this all the time. A lot of our students are taking out student loans. So really they're paying interest on the food that they're buying while they're in college. And so there's always that kind of like factor with that too.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Laura.
Can you guys hear me
Heather.
now?
Oh, yes. Hello.
Okay, hey. I was like testing my microphone, so I was just trying to make sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're trying to get students to come back right now, and some of them have bills for meal plans, and I feel like our meal plan office is pretty strict. It's pretty hard to get an exception, but I have emailed them a few times. Like, if sometimes I have students who say they didn't even know they had a meal plan. Like, can you confirm if they've even used it? Is there any way we can retroactively get this off? But yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes these meal plans can create additional financial debt, which is like a bigger issue as well. It does make me sad too, Laura.
Mhm. And I'm looking at your message you typed out. You all at U of L have a first year and second year live on policy where students are required to have a meal plan. If students commute, there's a $400 minimum meal plan each semester. The other meal plans range from $2,400 a semester to $1,400. Gets pricey, yes. It is an appeals process. If students have dietary needs or financial hardship or are providing for a family. Thank you for sharing that, Heather. Thank you for that. So as we're processing, it sounds like, again, we're looking at the meal plans and the cost of some of these, and even with Laura shared out the Flex Boost. That was one of the things that happened with the Swipe Ahead program. It was ran by a student group initially, and these students, they did their very best, and it grew to be far more than they could imagine. But some of the things that they were looking and counting with the number of meal swipes there were an absorbent amount of meal swipes initially that would go out to some students because of how they were looking at, like, your household size and things of that nature. And that was what the students look like months prior to actually coming onto campus. And so you'd have students that may have been awarded, I remember seeing a student that had like 70 meal swipes. And at that time it was $10 a swipe, so $700. So we're mentioning financial aid. That's exactly what's happening. It's going on to financial aid. Did the student really need the 70 meal swipes? Was that something that were being used? So we worked with research, and they completed a survey, and we sent it out to all the students who had active emails on file that received services through the Swipe Ahead program. And we got to look at, how many swipes were being used and how many swipes weren't being used and why they weren't used. So we'd also even figure out, like, hey, you're coming applying for these meal swipes. Well, you guys, I was there when we had a student to apply for meal swipes, and this particular student was not even in this continent. And it was like, are you aware of what this program is? Are you aware of the service? Are you aware of how to use the meal swipes? Because that student truly did not understand. The student saw there's a resource, there's a service, and like the rest of us, we're like, oh, this is something that's helpful. I'm going to apply, not realizing, the consequences of doing that, and that student would not even be able to use, those swipes, and it was going to, show up as receiving additional support or funds from the university. And so through those surveys and information, we were able to figure out how to better sort out the number of meal swipes, as said, that should be given out initially. So it's 10 meal swipes, no questions asked, because that's the magic number, and hopefully it'll be the magic number for a long time, right? But moving forward, it would require a meeting, with a case manager or myself who was trained And even if it went beyond my training, we had an opportunity to meet with financial aid to say, this student has a unique situation going on, and this small number of meal swipes is just not going to fix it. We're wrapping them in other support services. They know about the one cafe. We're, getting them screened to see if they qualify for SNAP benefits, but they're going to need a little bit more support. Can we add this additional support without causing them any issues, any concerns for the financial aid for this semester or next semester? That began to be a regular, conversation, when we'd have students that specifically said, I can't work off of campus. I can't do this, or I don't qualify for this particular aid, or I can't get SNAP, and so you do a little bit more on the back end to see if those students can qualify for more swipes. So being able to do those surveys and that research and figuring out, what was going on, and how are we looking at that? And, maybe we need to redo some of these policies. The students, the last thing that they wanted to do was to cause an issue while they were truly trying to help their peers on campus. Does anyone have anything else there before I move on to the next one? Okay. So this is a question that I absolutely love. And you all, with a person's backgrounds in social work, my mind just goes to a lot of places. How do you envision the future of food security efforts on your campus? How do you envision the future of food security efforts on your campus? I know that's a big one.
With what we're doing with summer meals, I intentionally invited the development office to come to these family dinners. Like I said, that's they're coming this evening. They're hosting, because I want them to see what the impact is, and when your development offices can see that, then they can speak to it with donors. And I know their interest is already peaked. When all of this started rolling out. And so the hope is that this could be an initiative that could be donor funded. I still want to keep the colleges and different units engaged in this, because I think they enjoy, they're getting FaceTime with students. They're getting and it's an informal environment, so they're breaking bread together with students, and they're just sitting down and listening to them talk. One of the students is supposed to bring a deck of Uno cards today, and we're going to have a hearty game, and they're going to see my competitive side. So hopefully they don't lose all love for me. But once they start to see that, then that's the kind of things that makes it easier for them to take hold of and raise money for. And it's not just kernels cover, but programs like this. We have a kernel clause program too that we do during winter break for students. We have maybe 15 students that don't leave campus at all during the holidays. And so we have a program for them where kernel clause visits, and they send a wish list, and we're trying to figure out how we tie food into that. That's a little trickier during the holidays when campus is closed. But just different programs like that, people really enjoy, and they're out donating to other causes. And when they realize, oh, I could do this right where my office is, they really enjoy that. So I'm hoping to get some more sustainable programs like that on campus, in addition to Abby and Amanda's plan to get people trained to be connectors. That would make a huge difference. I mean, we just generally need more social workers on college campuses. Anyhow.
Thanks, Laura. So I'm going to pretend I'm Abby right now. And so our vision would be, for research purposes, granting an entire class of incoming first-year students a meal plan for their entire college career, and seeing what the impact would be on their learning and life outcomes. That would be that's Abby's ideal vision, being able to provide the proof that having access to food does have a really important impact on how students are doing. So that's her big vision, and I'm here to be her cheerleader.
I'm cheering too.
It would be remarkable.
Yes, that sounds amazing. And Laura just hit the statement. You just spoke to the social worker in me. So yes. And the social worker in me is cheering that on. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that idea, Amanda. It kind of made me think that um I wish that like all Pell Grant recipients had like access to free meal plans. Like that would be so helpful because some of our full Pell students like Pell can cover tuition, but it's really some of our students where their housing and meal plans really hurt them. And so even some of our students who are local, trying to convince them, please stay home. Like you can't afford to like live on campus. But yeah, that would be nice to have the meal plans covered. Or my wish list is that every student who is eligible for SNAP, like that we could like automatically sign them up through the FAFSA or something. That would be so cool. But then like to take an extra step further and with like all the ideas that are happening in the chat, like with Jillian and getting EKU with the SNAP eligible as a franchise or a business, that would be really cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. So yes, and unlimited funding for like gas cards, that would be cool because students, like you said, some students aren't driving or don't have license. I have noticed that. I think you're mentioning, but I feel like even our students who do, like they don't have money for gas, and so that would be an extra added benefit. Add gas cards in the food pantry.
And I'm going to put my Abby dream hat again. She has really great research questions. The grant we applied for, we really wanted to test a SNAP screening tool for college students to build one that was clear, transparent, and easy. So I think that's how you make Heather's wish come true, is you start by making bureaucracy a little more manageable. So I think Abby will keep working on that.
Our Pell students have gone from, because by and large they were receiving free reduced lunch and breakfast in K-12, and then they come to the college campus and all of a sudden not only are you not getting free reduced lunches anymore, you also aren't eligible for SNAP benefits because the federal government makes it really, really difficult to do that. And then once you graduate from here, we're hoping that you don't need benefits. We're hoping that you're making enough money that you don't need benefits, but probably in those early jobs, you might need benefits again. So it's almost like we're pretending for 4 to 6 years that food magically happens, and it doesn't. And so, I mean, part of that kind of research is finding out from our students how many of them for the first time are, oh, I have to think about this and I didn't really in the past. Well, heck, I guess we could say that about everything, registering for classes and, lots of things that they all of a sudden have to think about. But yeah, it's taking a lot of the guesswork out of that, including that in FAFSA, because it's there. I mean, we know which students are Pell eligible.
That's good.
Preach,
David and
Laura.
Marianne.
Put you in the state house.
I'm loving all these ideas.
Yes.
Abby has gotten quite hung up on Marianne, the dollar meal. She talks about it a lot. I mean, it would be absolutely remarkable for our students.
And our students love it. It's a, hey, when are you going? I'm going over there. Why don't you come with me? I mean, like it's just a part of one of the dining options. Like no big deal. Just hop over there and get your meal. And the food looks amazing. Like it looks really, really good. So.
I love that too, Marianne. I dropped that to my team and I'm like, look what is happening. And they're like, dang. Marianne, do you guys have Airmark at UK as well? Okay.
That's where that partnership is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say I've been in this space for a very short time, but what I have loved is the number of different offices and partners who have jumped in to try to make sure our students are getting what they need. So whether that's our dining partner, if it's other offices who are on campus, it's the community, it's like I love that about what I'm learning in this position. So that has been just amazing to see.
And the big secret is get faculty that this is their research interest. And like Amanda and Abby, I mean, they just run with it, and they know all of the right things to ask. They know how to frame things up, and they understand the numbers and the stories that these are telling. I've been doing that for a long time. I just, from food security standpoint, never really thought about it. I've partnered with OT and social work for years. Anything research based or things like that. And I've leaned heavily into the stats department to analyze things. But finding who on your campus is the expert in this area and saying, here's my problem, can you help me think about it? And they're like, not only will I help you think about it, I'm just going to think about it for you. And I'm going to research the heck out of it. And it's just so easy. It makes it so easy.
Love that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I while at the collaborative, I am glad to be able to do some of this work on a broader scale and work with so many institutions across the state. But as we wrap up this process, and that was supposed to be, small group breakout, I'll share one of mine that I had been wanting to do for a long time, because Kentucky is very unique in that almost all of our districts across the state have family resource and youth service center coordinators. And one of the things that they are required to do in order to maintain those centers and get their budgets from DCBS, CHFS, mind you, the Friskies are funded by the state, the CHFS. I was a former Frisk, so we were just housed in the schools, okay? So I'm saying that because what we run into is a data sharing issue and problem. You've got federal government data when it comes to food, SNAP, all that kind of thing that is not easily transferred over and is often difficult to get to. We've got some campuses around the state that are trying to figure this out right now. How do we make this work? Because this information is really important to us. But these Friskies have to gather this information for all of their students at every school that they serve. It is how they get their upcoming grant and their budget for their schools. As someone has already mentioned, a lot of students, are free and reduced lunch. The Frisks have those counts. They have those numbers. They have those student IDs and identifying information. I would love for us to be able to work with the Kentucky Frisks to be able to say, you already know who the students are before they get to our campus. We want to work with you and make sure when they come on campus that we're then not sending them through all of these hoops and hurdles of trying to find the resources or sitting silently and not, wanting to say anything or be labeled or concerned that I'm reaching out for help or anything too early. And we already want to know who they are and hopefully even say before they come in, this is a support service that we have available. And based off of the information from your Frisk, you qualify for this support or you qualify for this services. And this is what is available to you. Because that information, I think their grants are done every 3 years. Every 3 years, they have to do that. So they have to have the free and reduced numbers for their schools to get their budgets. So I would love to be able to partner with them when it comes to that food security. There's a whole nother thing when it comes to the housing security and that support. But that food security would be great to partner with our Kentucky Frisk because, like I said, unlike other states can't say they have that in every county. We can. We can. So that would be amazing to have our FRISTs that are part of our public school systems partner with us and say, I have this number of students that are graduating from said high school, and they're coming to your institution, they're coming to your college, and this is, information that they would need. And I'm sorry, yep, the FRIST, so they are Family Resource Youth Service Center Coordinators. So it's FRYSC, and it's of Kentucky. Yeah, Family
That would
Resource
be
Youth Service
amazing.
Center. That is my dream.
Yeah, I had to pull teeth years ago to get the list of students that are on the foster adopted tuition waiver, because we wanted to offer extra resources to them, even just like mentoring, academic coaching. And for a while, the financial aid office was like, no, that's FERPA protected. And I'm like, I don't think so, really. Not really. Not if I have educational interest in these students. I'm wanting to retain them. And so now I get that. And I have a MSW intern that does outreach to those students, but those students, even, they need to know about Colonel's Cupboard. They need to know about all of these resources too, because they've often been housing insecure and frequently are housing insecure once they get here. And housing insecurity usually means food insecurity. And so just getting that list has been a huge benefit. But getting the list of students coming to us like that'd be great.
Yes. And thank you for sharing that, Laura. That is definitely a thing that needs to happen. That is something that Lily and I have been looking at branching and doing some more work there, because it's an area of passion for me. I'm a kinship caregiver and have been for over 14 years, raising my little cousin, but that is my kid and I'm mama. But the support and resources for children who are in kinship care do not compare even to what children who are former foster youth get from the state of Kentucky. And again, with that data, the state of Kentucky is ranking in the highest numbers of children who are in out of home care, and specifically kinship care. We're still struggling with getting the numbers because it's not all formalized, like went through the court procedures and process, for relatives and grandparents and aunts and uncles and elder siblings to raise these children. But they often come in being cared for by these relatives or grandparents, and they're trying to find support and resources. And so again, having some of this information, when the schools know that this kid gets support from the GAP program, the grandparents is raising grandparents as parents, then that would be great for you all to know. Or this student has a caseworker from this foster home or this agency. That would be amazing. That would be great.
And even our students on the foster adopted waiver, they often kind of lost that case management. Yeah. So it's honestly, it's throwing money at them with no resources. So it's okay, you get free tuition, and then here's your Pell and all of that. Now figure this out. And they've had somebody to help them figure things out all the way through, and then all of a sudden they're magically able to do that. None of our other 18-year-olds are, so they certainly aren't going to be able to. Every time I get a chance to talk to somebody in the legislature, which isn't often, and I think that's intentional because I think I probably make our president nervous. I will say, hey, I love this foster adopted tuition waiver policy that we have. How about the state give us some people to support them? We need a social worker that their one job is to help these students. And the KCTCS system would need way more than one person because their numbers are a lot higher than ours. But help them navigate all of these other systems. And if they're in independent living program too, they're not even on campus. We don't necessarily know how to get a hold of them. And so now they're living on their own and going to college, and they're having to navigate a whole lot more than that.
Mhm.
I did a lot of soapboxing today.
It's okay. I'm in it. I'm note taking. I know Olivia's getting notes. I'm looking at everybody else's faces. Everybody's taking this off this end, which is so appreciative, because what we want to take from the work group is these types of conversations, and what are we getting from this, and what are we learning from this, and so what do we need to be discussing with the collaborative, and when we convene as a whole group in the fall with the Basic Needs Network, we can say these were some of the things that we were hearing. What can we do across our state to make this better, to make this look better for our students, to make this more efficient and effective, processes, and wrap our students in all of these support services. So um, thank you, Laura. Thank you to all of you all who have stuck it through to the end of this work group. And I gotten a couple more questions towards the end that I do want to make sure that we clarify. The work group is open. It is open to whoever has an idea, whoever wants to learn, whoever has information to bring to this group. This is going to help us, as I said, to inform some of the work that we're doing with the Student Based Needs Network when we convene as a whole group in the fall. We're looking at some partnerships and some collaborations at the state level, and being able to offer some of these supports. So even the conversations like the connectors that come up, this helps us to understand, like, what does some of this look like? What are some of the conversations we can be having policy wise? What supports might be needed on our campuses? Whether it's, again, capacity, is it offering support for people to get trained on campus to be connectors? How can we offer support there? And just all of those different ways. All of this is so important for the work that we're doing. And so I thank you for this time. Be looking for the follow-up email from me. It'll include the agenda summary as well as the recording if you want to share that with colleagues who could not attend today. Or you could join us on the Impact Exchange. We are definitely encouraging individuals to get on there, because it is a wealth of information. A lot of times people get on there and they get information they don't necessarily share out there, and we're wanting to truly encourage individuals to share out on the Impact Exchange, and create a dialogue and exchange there. We have many institutions who join and share and gather information, and these conversations don't have to stop here. They could continue on, with our post that we will make for the food group or the food work group for the summer. I hope that you all will get onto the Impact Exchange, and we can share a link for that when we send out that summary, and give an update of our next meeting that we will have. We were asked if we could do something similar, but also wanting to have some more community partners that are involved with campuses, and seeing on how we might be able to make those things work. And so we did not have that date finalized, because we wanted to make sure that the dates were available for those community partners to be able to join us. But I hope to get that date out to you all soon. Before I convene, I want to make sure that I open the floor for any questions or comments for the wrap up.
I just had one question on the agenda that was sent out. This may be what you're talking about. It had saved the date for July 20th. That's a Saturday? Is that still? Oh,
Yeah, it should have been July 26th. I apologize for that.
okay.
But
I
yeah,
just put it on my calendar.
yeah. So July the 26th is the date that we're hoping to solidify, but I will definitely be sending out the confirmation that that is our day and our time. Just want to make sure that our community partners can join us.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you for asking, because I'm sure someone else is going to have the same question. Okay. While I don't mind an awkward pause, I also know how to take the silence and say that we have come to an end. Again, I appreciate you all's time, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. This is a great conversation, and I look forward to continuing it at our next meeting and beyond then. Thank you again for participating today.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting this together.